Yeah, a new season. Speaking of new season.
New season for wardrobes? Okay, we'll just roll with it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We can make this
Don't draw
work.
attention to it.
I don't know.
I'm definitely making it
Screensaver.
hard. Sometimes clothes are hard, guys.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough. It's a tough go.
Okay, here we are again.
We are again back with another great discussion.
Another great discussion. Once again, unscripted.
What else is new?
We don't even know where this is going to go.
No idea.
But we're talking about seasons.
Seasons.
We'll probably talk about like the actual seasons as well, like what's going on outside, time change,
Whoa. Okay.
spring, summer, winter, spring, summer, fall, winter. But we're mostly talking about spiritual seasons or life seasons.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't you kick us off right now?
I was gonna say my favorite part of that spiel was when you messed up what the actual seasons were.
Yeah. I wanted to say
Stuttered
spring,
over it.
summer, winter, fall.
I have a fall, winter.
Yeah.
Do you think they always have to go in order? I mean, I
Of
know in the
course,
natural
yeah.
world they do, but
No, I think you could talk about them in any order.
Well, yeah, you can talk about them in any order. But in the natural world, obviously, fall comes before winter,
True.
obviously.
even if you're in the southern hemisphere.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what you're experiencing. Date by date,
Mm-hmm.
they have seasons.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Here we are in fall.
Technically,
Fall,
time change is coming up
winter. Yeah.
next month. We're recording this in October. I
It'll
hear the
go up
time
later.
change is in November.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
The time change will have already happened, though, by the time they're listening to this.
Yes,
We'll be in
that's
the
true.
thick of it.
Mm.
Hate the time change.
Why are you looking at me?
Because you brought up this topic.
Oh, brought up topic. Okay.
You threw this topic in the ring,
Through
in
this
the hat.
topical monkey wrench of a topic.
I don't know if it's a wrench. I'm
Seasons.
just like, there's so many things you could say about it. What's on your heart about it?
Totally.
What inspired this? Why did you want to talk about this?
Well, we were wondering what else to talk about, other topics. And one of the ones that I thought about was seasons, like seasons in life. And just be interesting to hear each of our perspectives of what we've noticed in the past, what we hope for in the future. So for me, seasons, there's been a couple times within the last several years, I feel like I've been able to sense season shifts. So
Before they happen?
Yes.
Nice.
And I guess we need to define one of our core values on this show seems to be words matter. What a season is. So I think a season is like could also be called a chapter in your life. Like a season shift would be the closing of one chapter and the starting of the next chapter. If it were a book, it's a new chapter, I guess. New season, new chapter. So for me, there's been a couple times where, and maybe I'll unpack it fully later. Maybe I'll explain and open the story, and then you guys share your insight or wisdom, and then we'll come back around to it. But there's been a couple times where I have like got this inner sense, this giddiness, and usually I think it's been like I'll get extremely giddy and excited, like whoa, like something's about. I feel a season shift, and then Amy, it's like I don't know, I get a little nervous, or like it's funny, like we have different experiences of it, but it's quite funny. Like it's all upbeat and positive. But for me, a sensing like a significant season shift taking place in life. And then usually shortly thereafter, maybe a few weeks, like it happens. So it'll either be like a move or a job change or some kind of closing of the current chapter and an opening of a new and exciting chapter. How's that? How's that for an opener?
It's a great definition.
Yeah?
I can work with it.
Thoughts?
Season. I guess it's just it's a particular, I like when I try to describe with hand motions.
Yeah. Maybe you have some inner Italian, like, hey.
It's a specific chunk of time, I guess,
Yeah.
where something is perhaps happening. And I think it's important. Stopped enunciating there. I think it's important to look at seasons because probably if you're in a certain season, it would be helpful to embrace that season as opposed to maybe fight against it or ignore it or be surprised that you're in it or that it's changing. So I think the importance of the conversation is what kind of seasons are there? What season are you currently in? What's the best way to respond to your season? Do some seasons get prolonged? Perhaps because, well, for many reasons, but maybe we're not embracing it or we're not moving with it. We're fighting against it. It's, like if you looked in the natural, if it's spring and it's time to plant seeds and you're trying to harvest, you're going to be mighty frustrated.
Yeah.
As far as the natural rhythms of perhaps how things progress. So, and I find that people are in different seasons at different times, most often. Like you and a very close friend could be walking through very different seasons.
Yeah.
And so to also be able to identify that is really helpful in relationship because you still need to be fully in your season, but you also need to have compassion or awareness of the people's seasons around you, I think, especially people you're close to, because often what we'll do as humans is we'll overlay our own experience onto everyone else. And so if I'm in if I'm in a season of like, I don't know, hard things happening or mourning or like just a hard space and my friend is celebrating, maybe they've just got engaged or something. And it's like,
this is not the time for celebration.
yeah, right. Like there's that whole thing in the Bible, like mourn with those who mourn and celebrate with those who celebrate. And that's not to discount your own experience, but we are called to live beyond ourselves as far as, embrace where you're at, but then also how do we engage with other people's seasons in a healthy way?
Yeah. One of the things I was thinking of as you were talking is, and then maybe we'll touch on this several times throughout the podcast, is like how you were saying, knowing what season you're in. I'm thinking of like the farmer, right? Like in winter, during winter time, it's the time to maybe like sharpen the farm implements and
look after your equipment
and your
maybe rest a little bit because you just came off of a super hard harvest.
Yeah, totally. Rest. And so the thing is like not trying to, I guess I'm saying the exact same thing you were saying, but in a different way. Not
a little bit longer.
Yeah. Not trying to live in perpetual summer.
Yeah.
So I've known some people who it's like they're obviously in winter season and they're expecting it to be summer. And because there's like an incongruency with like their expectations, like their experience isn't lining up with their mindset, and therefore it's causing depression or friction or whatever. It's like, hey, why isn't it summer? Why isn't the plants growing? It's like, well, you're not in summer right now. Like this is a time to rest. This is a time to prepare, and this is a time to work on the tools. And
I think you're probably personality-wise, you're probably drawn to certain seasons more than others. So there's going to be ones that like, this is my style, or this is my deal, or I'm all about this season, right? And we could compare to just the different seasons in nature, in life, right? So we talked about winter can be a season of rest, kind of hunkering down. We're not harvesting, the land's kind of resting if we're looking from an agricultural standpoint. Maybe we're starting to think about new ideas for the next coming season. We're not acting on them, but maybe we have some quiet time to think about this and kind of, get ready for the next thing, right? So winter is kind of that slow down or take rest or gather back together kind of a season. And so that could be one option. If we're looking at then spring, that's when all the new things happen. Right? Spring is where we plant things and where new ideas are birthed, and maybe we launch new things, or we're on out into this whole new area, right? And it's very active and kind of that just the little beginnings, right? And then we can think about summer as like, hey, summer is actually there's a lot of play in summer, but there's also a lot of work in summer.
Yeah.
Right. If we're looking agriculture, like it's, the weeding and the parts and the pieces and it's kind of like, it's fun. It's lighthearted but there's also a lot of work.
A lot of growing, but a lot of maintenance. It's got to happen to keep that going. Yeah.
And then fall is that, hey, it's time to harvest. It's time to bring everything in. Like it's a lot of work to bring all in the harvest. And then it's also a time of assessment.
Yeah.
Right. Where you bring it in and you just look at it and you say, okay, the harvest. And then, then we're getting ready to rest again into winter. So it's kind of like this cycle. And it's an interesting thing because I heard a teaching on seasons and I realized, I'm a perpetual spring, summer. And you can't live your life perpetually in one season. Like it doesn't work. So it's like I love new things. And so I love new things and then I like to work on them for a bit and then just kind of whatever. Like we never got to harvest. It was just like, well, let's come up with the new thing again. So it was like you almost circumvent and be like, okay, I'm tired of working on that. So let's plant another thing, you know, and it's just caught up in this cycle, which if we're looking at summer, it's like you're working hard, you're playing hard, you're doing the thing. That's generally, if you stay there forever, burnout begins to happen. Right. And you're not assessing, is what I'm doing working? Because that's when you bring in the harvest. You're like, hey, did the crops grow anything?
Do I have what I thought I would?
Or did all my crops die and did the trees not work? Or did did the bugs get it? And that's when you reassess. But if you never come to that harvest point, you're just going to keep kind of working in circles. And so I learned my personality is like, new things. Let's build new things. And they might not be fruitful. Because I'm skipping harvest.
Don't care.
But we're just let's just launch something else new. And so I was like, you need to go through the whole process. So kind of looking and going, what area do you gravitate towards as far as like a certain season?
Lee, what's your favorite season? Where do you operate?
In the physical or
not like I like summer the most because it's sunny. But in this metaphor of like your work style, I guess, or your lifestyle that is the most engaging for you?
That's a good question. Like, because me having been the one that brought up this topic. Well, like, I mean, my instant response is I like them all equally for what they are. But if I had to pick one, I think I'm a fall person. Like things are coming to a close and you look back with like, wow, like look at what was accomplished. Look at what was done, like with just a cheerful heart, and then going into like a period of winter. Like I think because I'm long-winded, I'm slow to process, like I'm not like super fast and quick. I think fall leading into winter suits my style, more contemplative,
So between the two of you got them all covered. You're just...
Yeah, so if he's trying to do his and I'm trying to do mine, we just fight against each other.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
You know, Amy's a self-professed perpetual spring and summer, and I just off the cuff, like, fall and winter. There you go. That is pretty neat. We have it all. It's a good balance. Yeah.
There you have it.
Now, how about you? Like I sense this is kind of like a fresh topic or a new topic for you, or is this resonating where you're like, oh yeah, I totally get this?
No, I haven't taken a course on it, but I've had these conversations before for sure. And I love like personality assessments and reflection things. Like, I just think I like having language for things. So I do tend to hold on to things like this. It's funny because you guys you were talking about how your season changes are marked with like a lot of excitement and anticipation. I am the exact opposite. I will fight a season change tooth and nail.
We're learning this a lot about you and I are on different ends of this spectrum.
Very opposite.
This is great. It's
I know.
great.
And it's because, and I was even saying this about like a very recent life changes. It's like, man, I know that it's going to be good, but I don't want it to be because I love my life so much that the thought of finding something better or different or stepping into the next thing and looking back and being like, oh yeah, what I have now is better makes me sad because I love what I have right now so much. And so I'll like hold on to it forever. So I don't even care about spring. I'm just like a forever summer. Like I just want to do the work, do the hard work, hard play all the time is like my favorite thing. I want to be doing the same thing every day. I don't really want to reflect back or I know that it's working because I'm working hard and I'm having fun. So that must mean that it's good. And like, that's where I like to stay for sure. I'd love if my life, I used to say if my life stayed the same like if my week structure was the same week for the rest of time, I would be like, yeah, I got it. I got it dialed.
We had that conversation once before of like how I said, I feel like I can predict the future because I know, in a routine, like I can tell you what my Monday
Yeah.
is going to look like
And I go, me too. It's the
3
best.
Mondays from now. And it's like, it makes me feel a little uneasy, like, oh
Yeah.
my gosh. But for you, it's like, oh, this makes me feel settled, warm and yummy.
Well, I do wonder. I think maybe a difference there. I'm just reflecting on this now, and it might have nothing to do with what we're going to talk about. But your job remains quite the same. So then when your routine is the same, it is a lot of the same. Versus my job is forever changing in terms of like the way that it actually plays out. And so when I have routine and, well, I know that I'm going to go here from this time to this time, and I don't actually know what it's going to look like or what's going to happen or who I'm going to be with. But then I know that I'm there, and then it'll switch to the next. So I think I have so much variety in my life that when I can create like these pillars of consistency, then I'm like, oh, this is great.
Yeah.
So then I don't need to change it up. It's changing up so much around me that any kind of consistency I can cling to feels nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thinking about the seasons and season shifts, would you say that's part of God's design for us? Like that we are to experience seasons and like embrace seasons? Do you a couple thoughts I'm having is like the last podcast we recorded, we talked about worship, like Thanksgiving, praise and worship, and how I believe like that's a system God has instituted, like for us to enter into, and we get to choose whether or not to partner with it. Like seasonality of life, like just there are physical seasons with the changing of the weather and like the trees, and you see all the plants and the animals migrate and all that jazz. Like just there a physical season. Do you think there are like spiritual seasons? There's an ebb and flow to our spiritual life or relational life that it would benefit us to be aware of and partner with?
Yes.
Yes? Okay.
Absolutely.
Hey, yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, what was it that Jesus was talking about? Talking to the Pharisees, was it?
Oh, about how like you have you're so studied and you can time, you know when to plant the mint, and you know how to, like he was talking about herbs, I think.
I thought he was talking about weather.
Well, weather and herbs.
You can see the seasons by the sky. You know what I mean? Like you can see what's going to happen with the weather because you look at the sky, but you can't see the signs of the times.
Yeah.
Right. So there is, I think, very much a spiritual element to all of it. You know, and there's other obviously like physical seasons that you are going through, like, you know, like someone going to school or someone getting married or having kids. Like there's all these more natural seasons that happen.
Yeah.
And so that's part of what you need to embrace, right? I'm around at church, a bunch of new moms, like in the last 5 months, there's all these babies. And so it's like, it's just interesting talking to them because their whole world is shifted, right? And it's like, this is a season. And so how do you embrace what God has for you in this season with the natural element of it, but then also asking the question, like for that, it's obvious. Like there's a major shift, so we have to do something different. But how often are we in some sort of season with the Lord and we're just not aware of it? And are we asking the question, hey, God, what's my current season? Is there something in this season that you're calling me to focus on? You know, is there a particular scripture or a particular theme that would help me in this season? Because if so, it'd probably be wise to embrace that. You know?
Yeah. And dress for the occasion too. Like it would be odd to dress for summer in the middle of winter. And vice versa, you know, dress for winter in the middle of summer. And it probably wouldn't work out very well for you in your level of comfort, right, in either of those situations. So I wonder, new thought, I wonder if we learned some tools or had some tools and skills to self-assess or reflect, you know, like, okay, what season? I wonder if that would help mitigate or help like with people's feelings of unease or discomfort or whatever, like anything they're going through that might not be, you know, peace, joy, whatever, maybe leading to the fruit of the Spirit. Maybe there's like marked by, I know there could be a multitude of things, but marked by, you know, fear or anxiousness or whatever. It's like, oh, hey, it's just a simple shift of understanding, you know, you're not in summer, you're in fall. I wonder what some of those things would be. You know, you said you like language applied to things.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about people's color palettes. We were talking about that. Like, what's your color?
Or what's your season? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, hey, so it is a
It is
season.
seasons,
Like, what
yeah.
what is your season color?
Yeah.
Of like, people go after that and try and know that. Like, hey, I wonder if there exists a thing or way to determine, like, okay, this is what season I'm in right now.
I think there could be an assessment externally, but you could also just internally do an assessment of, like, there will be so many markers in your life that are pointing you towards things, whether you're fighting them or agreeing with them. And then the knowledge of the season that you're in could also help with the season that is to come, right? And then if you're like, okay, I'm in fall, so then what's next for me is probably rest, contemplation, preparation. And so then when you see those things come up, you're not alarmed or concerned or things feel different, because you're like, oh, I'm in fall, we've done this part, and this is what's next. And as that starts to come up, I'm ready for it, and I'm not going to fight it. So I'm going to actually engage with it quicker and easier because it's familiar. And then if you just keep that going, then I don't know. I'm like, how do you lose in that point? And I'm like, I don't know if it always perfectly follows season to season as it does outside. Like, nothing is going to interrupt this progression from fall to winter out here. That's just the way that it works. But I think sometimes we have experiences or life circumstances that jolt us from one thing into the next unexpectedly.
Oh, totally. Yeah,
right?
that makes
And then
sense.
you're like, oh, I was not seeing this coming. And that can be super jarring. But again, if you can learn to embrace, we are not in control of what is going on. We are just participants in this. And there's a lot of things we can't control, and there's so many things that we can't. So rather than fighting it and being like, well, I was supposed to go to winter next, and now I'm not. Now I'm over here. Just being like, yep. So now like, this is the season you're in, and this is what you can do in it, I think is pretty empowering. So there's probably, I'm sure, if you Googled, what season am I in quiz, someone's made something for that. But also, like, there are signs all over as to, or even just things you feel like you need right now. Like, what do you feel like you need? That probably points to the season that you're either meant to be functioning in or heading towards. And that's sweet.
I keep thinking of that verse. There's a time to plant. There's a time to reap or harvest. There's a time to mourn. And it makes me think about, like, the Bible. I mean, obviously, well, news to you, or not news to you, but news to maybe people listening. We've been diving into systematic theology. And so our Bible, our 66 books of our Bible that we have, that is all God breathed. Like, that is God's word captured in written form for us. Like, so any questions we have or whatever, like, we can turn to that. Like, that's as good as gold. That's truth. That's everything. And so I wonder, like, digging into God's word, the Bible, like, I wonder what he has to say in the Bible about seasonality and how to, well, Jesus was saying, like, hey, you guys study this and know this, but you don't know the signs and the times. I wonder, check the box for me of future thing on the to-do list. What does the Bible have to say about seasonality and knowing what season you're in?
Man, can I tell you, it says a lot. The amount of farming metaphors alone, which is extremely season dependent, is insane. Which is so helpful, because that's something that we can still understand, because we still do that today. So I'm like, nice work. Good job picking a good metaphor that was going to last.
Yeah, totally. Storehouses, gathering grain.
Yeah, and it's knowing, the agricultural thing is just a great picture, but it's like, okay, looking at seasons. Hey, is it a new seed just being planted? Like, are you waiting for something to sprout up? Is there some area in your life where you're like, I'm not seeing the promise?
Yeah.
The seed's been planted, the promise has been made, but I'm not seeing it. That's a season where you have to hold and go, okay, God, I trust you. I'm not going to give up. I'm going to keep praying and keep believing, right? Or even finding people to lock hands with, because that season can become very discouraging. And those seasons tend to, perhaps, I would say, overlap other seasons, if that makes sense, right? Like, there's promises we can have given that might go across several seasons. Seasons are changing, but you're like, I still have this thing.
Yeah.
And all it is in seed form.
Mm-hmm.
But that seed the seed is amazing, right? It contains everything needed to come into the fullness of what that thing is, like all in that little seed. And so when that seed gets planted, it's like we don't get to force it to grow. Like we don't have the control over that, but we do have the capacity to continue to trust and continue to believe and continue to come to God and say, look, I believe this is the promise you've given me, right? It's been planted and I want to believe for that. So it's interesting that I would say there's different kind of seasons in prayer or in waiting for promises or what that looks like, which might not be the same as the current season you're in, right? I think we all have promises that we're clinging to and desiring to see on this earth, as it is in heaven. And then there's still that place of like, I think you're saying tools, and like what Marika's saying is just starting to ask the question.
Yeah.
Like, God, do you have me in a season of rest? Like, is this a season where I need to slow down and to regroup and to, kind of allow the Lord to minister here? Is there something in my heart that needs work? Do I need to slow down before you? Or or is it a season of work?
Yeah.
Because from the outside, those could look, you know what I mean? Like we could just be perpetually, like you said, in summer and just working. But we all know that if that's all we did, that's not healthy as far as a longer term cycle goes.
You will get a forced winter if
you
you
will.
do.
And that's the reality,
Yeah.
right? Like we can embrace the next season that comes, or we can find ourselves a little bit broken into it.
Yeah.
Right. And then it's like, guess what? You're resting.
Yeah.
Like it or not. Both your ankles are broken. Oh,
Yeah.
what are we talking about? And you need to rest.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I'll share my story. It's the first most prominent season shift, like sensing it. And then we'll see if it opens up. I don't know. We'll see where it goes.
Yeah.
But this was probably February of 2013. I was getting my Canadian permanent residency status. And so after nearly 2 years, I finally get the letter in the mail that says like, hey, congratulations, your residency's been approved.
Yeah.
You just have to like now come and do your oath or whatever you do and like sign the paperwork. And so we had heard that there are a couple different spots to do it. We were living in the Kootenays in Creston at the time. And we were hoping that, I think there was a location in, I don't know, a nearby town close by, Castlegar or Kelowna or somewhere closer, just like a couple hour drive. Or we heard, stories of people having to drive all the way out to Vancouver. We're like, oh gosh, I hope we don't get Vancouver. Like, I really hope we don't have to go all the way out there. Letter comes in the mail and it was Vancouver. We're like, oh man. So anyway, we're just like, well, we got to do it. And it was neat because we, just outside of Vancouver in Abbotsford, which is where we eventually moved, friends of ours who were at our wedding in Uganda lived in Abbotsford. And they're like, oh, you can stay with us while you're out here. So we drive out to Vancouver. I do my residency stuff. I get my green card or the PR card. And then we stay with our friends in Abbotsford for what, like a week or just a couple days? A couple days. But there was something about when we were there, it was just unnatural. I got like this giddiness and this sense of like, oh, we're moving to Abbotsford. So much so that I remember, I think I walked or I drove down to like the base of the neighborhood, and that's where the Abbotsford Visitor Center was. I went to the Visitor Center, talked to the lady there. I got all these flyers and handouts. I was just full bore, like, hyper focused on, we're moving to Abbotsford. And Amy's like, what in the world? Like, you could share your side of the story, like what you thought of that. But I had this, like, I knew that I knew that I knew. And it wasn't on our radar before. It was like just this knowing of like, this is what's about to happen. Like, I knew it was going to happen. So anyway, then we drive back home to Creston, but this time we go through the States because I hadn't been in the States in nearly 2 years because while I was waiting, I couldn't cross the border.
Yeah.
So we celebrated. I drove through the States and we come back up through the border right by Creston, and we're coming back through the border, and the border officer lady is like, okay, where are you coming from? Why were you out there? And I explained, I went to Vancouver for my PR. And then remember, clear as day, she's like, why did you go all the way out there? Like, we do these every week here in Cranbrook, which is like a 45-minute drive the opposite direction, like right there. And we're like, what in the world? Like, you mean we could have went right here?
Yeah.
But I think it was just part of some divine orchestration. Mm-hmm. And so we get back home and it's just like, I'm full bore, like prepare mode, like we're moving to Abbotsford. And I think we did it within 2 or 3 weeks. And then that kicked off.
Weeks?
Yeah. Like, and so that kicked off a whole chain of events. Like we would have never, I don't even think we'd be here right now because we would have never met a certain couple that we're still good friends with that we eventually lived with. And then through her son, like through some instances, I got a job with Focus on the Family Canada. Like there's so many things that would have never taken place. Mm-hmm. But it was just looking back at that, it was wild. It was like, I can't explain it, but it's like everything within me was leaping for joy of like, this is a new thing's about to take place. And so that's just one of there were a few of those moments. We're getting like this inner knowing just a few weeks before like a significant move or something happens. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Of course I do.
You remember moving to Abbotsford?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
But do you have vivid memories of your feelings about that whole process?
Yeah. I mean, it was a significant season change, and I was nervous about it, but it went well. We're nomadic. We like to move, so it's not. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
My husband came home one day being like, we're moving to Abbotsford. I'd be like, you're moving to Abbotsford. I'm staying right here.
No, thank you.
Yeah, I did not get that memo, so that's hilarious.
Have you ever felt, have either of you ever felt like you've felt something, or maybe even in hindsight, you're just like, yeah, like I saw that. At the time, I didn't see it, but looking back, like I saw that coming.
Yep.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. I was going to say not quite as clearly as you're moving to Abbotsford, but it kind of was just not about moving. I don't like to move. I'm not nomadic. I'm the opposite of that.
Yeah. Doesn't have to be moving.
It's not. No. Don't worry. But right now I work for Young Life, but there was a time before this where I did not work for Young Life, but it was, I don't remember what happened or how it happened, but they started this new internship program my first year of volunteer leading. So I just graduated high school, and they had this new staffing thing where if you wanted to join staff, you would sign on for a 2-year contract and you would do an internship and they'd train you. And then after those 2 years, you basically have a chance to be like, do I actually want to do this ministry job or do I not? So it's really smart. We still do it. It's a great program. You are so equipped and so looked after. It's such a cushy start compared to what you used to have to do. And so it's awesome in that way. And so I remember Jamie, who is the staff person and a great friend of mine, he pulled aside like 5 or 6 of us in a room, and it was the most random group of people, and all of them older than me. I was 18, I think. And he was like, I think all of you could be on staff if you wanted to. There's this program. You'd have to apply right now. And I remember in my head being like, I just started university. I'm 18. I'm not doing this program. That doesn't make sense. And in reflection, they wouldn't have hired me because you should have a degree first, probably. And so my friend Alan jumped in on it. He got a job. And so then now Jamie and Alan were the 2 staff people in the area, and they were doing the thing. And I was like, that's awesome. And so in my brain, that kind of planted a seed for, I was like, I never really thought about working for Young Life. I knew I loved Young Life. I was going to volunteer for it, but I never ever thought about it. And then as I continued to volunteer over those, I was in university for 5 years. I was like, oh man, I actually think this is sort of my dream job, but I don't feel at all called to move, because there were so many opportunities if I wanted to move, but I was like, I am meant to be here, and I don't know why, but this is the plot of earth I'm gonna die on, I think, and so I just need to stick it out here. And I had settled for, like, I guess I'll just be the oldest volunteer leader of all time. Like, I'd met someone who's a volunteer leader in their 70s, and I was like, I'm coming for you. Like, you think you're old? Just wait. I'm gonna be like dead and I'm still going to be doing this. And so that's what I'd settled for. And so I was like, okay, what's my backup career? And so I'd been going back and forth, and I'd settled on naturopathic medicine. And so I had gone over to the mainland and toured the school and stayed and audited classes for a few days and was starting my application because I was starting my last year of university. And so I needed to get everything in a row so I could transition over. And then it was a Canada Day party, like backyard fire going, hanging out, cooking smokies and whatever. And it was just all of our friends were hanging out. And Jamie came up and he asked me how my applications for naturopathic school were going, because he was helping me get set up with the Young Life area where the naturopathic school was, because obviously if I was going to be the oldest leader ever, I couldn't quit. So we were just going to transition and move with it. And I just started bawling, and I had no idea why. I cry a lot nowadays. My sister says I learned how to cry in the last 2 years. So I was like, I was not in my season of feeling anything. So this was like a crazy response for me at the time. And I was like, I don't know, like I'm doing it, but I don't think I even want to do it. It feels like the best option of the options that I have, but it's not what I want. And he's like, well, what do you want? I was like, I want to work for Young Life, but I can't because I'm supposed to live in Victoria and I can't do that. So there's no spots for me. So I have to do this instead. And unbeknownst to me, maybe a month or so before, Alan had started this ministry and he's like, I don't want to do this. Like, I want to switch back over. And Jamie was like, oh my gosh, I hired you to start this thing. Like, who's going to do this now? And so he had a hole that I didn't even know about. And then we're having this conversation and I didn't know I was going to say that. And then he was like, I'd hire you to work for Young Life. I was like, what? He goes, yeah, finish your last year of school in September. We'll hire you and we'll get going. And I was like, okay. So I stopped my application, never finished it, didn't do a thing. I was like, my parents were a little disappointed in me, I think, for a little bit. But then I did it, and I stayed. And so I tell that story to a lot of people about, they're like, well, what did you do in university? And I'll tell the thing, and they're like, oh, you probably should have gone to medical school. And I was like, I think I am doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And so I do still think I have the best job in the world, and it's so fun. So didn't see that one fully coming. And then, well, bam. It happened. Pretty fun. I like it.
What do you, for question, thinking back to that story, what do you think caused you to give that, like, clarity, or not clarity, but like emphasis? Like, you could have ignored those feelings and went with, like, hey, I'm going to do naturopathic school or whatever, but like, what was it in you said, no, I know this is the choice?
I don't think it was me, really. You know, like, on paper, it doesn't look practical at all. Youth ministry, nonprofit workers do not make great money.
No?
No, not really. Like, it's okay. It's livable. But not like what you could pull if you wanted to as a naturopathic doctor, right? And it was, like, more prestigious. It had a lot more wins in society. People don't really admire middle schoolers that much. And so me wanting to work with them is not considered maybe brave, but not admirable by many. And so it doesn't actually make any sense. I just knew that I knew. Like, I knew that I loved it, that I wanted to do it, that it was like something I was meant to be a part of.
Yeah.
But in the moment of actually talking to Jamie, I felt completely out of control of my own response to him. Not in a bad way, but just, I didn't plan that. I didn't expect to say those things. It was one of those things where it was coming out of my mouth and I was like, yeah, that's true. But I would not have put those thoughts forward. And so it was for sure something that was just in me, and that I think obviously God put there, and then it came out. And then the part that became important was me continuing to steward and trust in that over that next year of being like, well, why am I even getting this degree then? All of my friends are applying to these, like, big hotshot master and doctoral programs, and I'm like sitting here like I don't know what an expression I could even pull out right now. I'm just sitting here and I'm not doing that. And there's a lot of pressure, especially in the academic world. Like, if you're academic, and you stick with that. And even my mom used to say all the time growing up, she's like, you're smart enough to do whatever you want, so choose smart. And so, like, I didn't choose smart by a lot of standards for what I could have done. But so that's where I think my choices became important, were in that year of waiting for it to actually happen, was trusting that it would. Because then also I got hired in September 2020 when it was a pandemic and everything was shut down. And as a nonprofit, you have to fundraise. And so God provided funds that shouldn't have been there. Like so many things fell into place. And my hiring should not have happened by 1,000 definitions, but it did.
That's a cool story.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm thinking one of the things I was thinking about with seasons, you know, looking ahead to this podcast, is wondering if we could somehow touch on or wondering if we would explore how can we posture ourselves, or how can we create practices in our own lives to become more sensitive to that. I know I've heard some people use the analogy of like, I don't think we do it anymore. Most people, or there's probably a few people who don't even know what an old school radio, like where you have to turn a knob and that like the little needle moves back and forth through the stations, you know, like which channel. I'm looking for 105, 103.5, right? And you're trying to get it. And then you hear it, like you hear the crackle, you're tuning it in. Okay, oh, there it is. I got it. Like, but it's a purposeful, like, where is it? Where is it? There it is. Or the analogy of like our little pinky toe, like, you know, look at your bare foot on the floor. Your pinky toe has muscles in it, but it's so atrophied. Like, even though you want to move it, like, okay, just move your pinky toe. It's like impossible, right? But if you worked on it, you could eventually build it up.
Yeah.
But it's like that inner knowing, that sense, I'd like to believe it's somehow a muscle, a spiritual muscle that we can develop to learn to tune into, like, okay, God, what are you doing? What's going on right now? Like, to be able to read perfectly. I want to become a professional at reading the signs and the times of what God's doing around me and in my own life.
I think there's levels. Probably start with your own life. Good place to start. You know, I think there's people out there that get really good at reading the signs of the times, what's happening in the world, what's happening in the political realm, what's happening in this realm, in the schools, and you know what I mean? Like that is a thing as well. I'm probably recommending start at home in your own life and just to begin to start asking the questions, right? Yeah. Hey, God, what season am I in right now? And just taking some time maybe to quiet down and go, notice what's going on in your life. Like, can you hit the pause button for even a moment to just begin to analyze and go, okay, what is currently in my life? What am I putting my time towards? What am I putting my energy towards? How do I feel toward those things? You know, how many of them are just, I mean, we call them have-tos. Everything's a choice. Yeah. But like there are seasons where it's like with small kids or with starting a new job, or there might be parts of the season where you're like, hey, there's a little section here where I need to pour in a little bit more, or I need to do this extra thing. But hopefully we can see that is a season.
Yeah.
And it's not meant to be the rest of your life. And so beginning just to ponder and ask those questions, right? Like we were talking earlier today, and I'm realizing the way I'm wired is I have to have buy-in on something. And if the moment I have buy-in on a particular goal or target, I will go all in and I will do absolutely everything necessary to accomplish that. Now, the moment I don't have a target, or the moment there's a target but I haven't bought in, I don't care. Like I'll do the minimum, or not even. Like it's just so interesting when part of this assessment is learning what do you like? Like how do you operate? What's your operating system? Because for me, I'm an all or nothing person. And so I would say I'm in a season of probably a little bit more of a winter, honestly. Where it is a bit of a time, maybe tail end of fall into winter, where it's like, hey, we've done some really hard things. We competed at the CrossFit Games, came back, not really sure what I'm doing next. So we're in this kind of resting. It was supposed to be like, you know, my coach was programming for me like a rest cycle anyway, but then I ended up injuring myself. So if I wasn't fully resting, I'm sure I was. Now it's forced.
Yeah.
Right? Like as much as, you know, we're doing like some bodybuilding and really no intensity, nothing heavy. Even if I was tempted to move outside of that, I'm like, after I've injured my ankle, I can't. Right. Yeah. And so now I'm really slowed down. And it's been a season of just coming and asking the Lord. And some of it is like, God, am I missing something?
Yeah.
You know, like, did I miss something? Like, forced rest isn't always a consequence. Like some things in life just happen. Like I said, I was probably already in a rest season. Now I'm really in a rest season. And so you just begin to ask the questions. And as I reassess, it's like, Lord, for me, I'm like, hey, God, you know I love a target, but I'm going to trust you either way.
Yeah.
But what is the thing like that, what season is coming? So maybe I can prepare for it. Yeah. Like, what can I do now for what's coming around the corner? Like, I can't, like, if it is to compete again, it's like, then I can start thinking about that, but I can't necessarily do a ton except for rehab, which is great. All of that will lead towards competing again. But it's in that realm of like, I don't even know yet. Yeah. Like, it's a lot of question marks of what is the next thing, which I think can be a season of, that's really unnerving for people, where you're like, I would rather know what we're moving towards than not know. But I trust you in it, and I'm just going to embrace kind of what that looks like. And then also for me, it's been embracing the church, honestly, where I'm like, okay, I know that my personality is I have to pour into something, and physically now pouring into training is like, there's only so much I can do. And so it's finding that now, okay, what does it look like to love the church, to serve the church, to be a part of the church, to all of that. And so a little bit more time and energy is going there. But I would say big picture, I'm like, yeah, I don't know. We're in a little bit of an unknown. So that's just an example of, hey, you kind of have to look at what's the reality in your life. Yeah. You know, how many hours do I need to work, or what sort of things are on my plate, or like, you can't just throw things out because you're like, well, I don't want that to be my season. But maybe there are some things on your plate that don't need to be there. Yeah. What sort of a season would you say you're in?
Right now?
Yep.
I feel like spring.
We're opposite again. Opposite.
Yeah.
Shocker.
Oh, no.
Tell us about your spring.
Yeah, what are you planting?
Well, I feel like there's so many ripe opportunities, like with church, with us studying. We have this big, thick book on systematic theology. So like that's new. It's new and novel, like, or maybe not novel, but it's a new thing. So learning about systematic theology, getting plugged in at our church, taking this course. We just started, we just finished up week 3 of our home group. So there's like all these new things started. So I take stock in my own life, and it's like all these things sprouting up around, like, oh wow, this is new opportunities at work, sensing like, oh, maybe something's on the horizon at work that's a new opportunity. There's just, I feel like everywhere I turn there's a new opportunity or something new taking place, and it gets me jazzed up. We like that word, jazzed up. Yeah. Where do we go from here?
Amy was asking me what season I'm in.
Oh.
I thought you might do it after you were done, but
no.
He doesn't want to touch that one.
No. Well, I didn't even think about that.
Stick
Wasn't
in the
even
world to poke that bear.
The only time I did think about it was when it was a little while back, several minutes ago. Yeah. Oh, when you were talking about like sometimes like the seasons don't follow one another. Yeah. Sometimes you can go like from a summer, boom, straight into winter, dead of winter, all in one fell swoop. And I thought about you, and I'm just like, okay, nope, I'm not touching that, not touching that. Or why? Yeah, just out of respect, or I don't want to put you
decency.
I don't want to put you on the spot.
You're free to share as much or as little as you want.
Yeah,
absolutely free.
No, I know.
Yeah, not expected or wanted or whatever. Right.
Well, yeah, I am in a season shift. Shifted, and it's very different than anything I've experienced before. So I would say that it felt like spring, like it felt like new beginnings. We're having a baby, and so much of me was like true to myself, like so nervous and a little bit fighting it, because I knew that I would change so much, and I liked who I was, and so I was afraid of that change. But I was also getting so excited because I knew that it was going to be so good and that God had so much in it and that change would be good and that there would be no way that I would look back on those days and be like, oh, that was better. Like, I knew that wasn't true. So there was just some part of me that was holding on to my eternal summer that I really loved, knowing that having a baby would really slow me down. And so I had to, and so in a way there was like a grieving of giving that up. And I think I lived a pretty selfish life. I did whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted, and it was really fun. Not selfish, and I don't think in a bad way, just in the reality that I didn't serve anyone else. And so, like, my time was my own. And so there was, like, I was still definitely processing that. But then, I just had, like, a feeling in my gut that something wasn't right. And my body wasn't really showing any signs of that. Everyone thought I was overreacting. But a couple weeks ago, we went in for an ultrasound, and I was in spring, and then a doctor came in the room and said, I'm so sorry, but I don't have good news for you. And it was like getting slammed into winter in a way that I wasn't ready for at all. I don't think you can be. But yeah, it's been a few weeks of like really feeling the feels, and even like the whole last episode about worship, I just kept thinking about like, man, worship really is a sacrifice, and it is a really hard thing to do in some seasons. And so I'm sitting here and I'm trying, like, probably the hardest struggle right now. Like, I've done a lot of processing on just the reality of this circumstance, and it is starting to sink in. Like, I think I am moving through that pretty well. But the fear that this is my forever season is so huge. Like, the thought of getting up and then trying again and trusting God again in this and offering this up and then having it end in death again is so crushing. And so then it almost, like, right now I just want to sit in my winter. Like, I hate winter. I'm a summer girl. I'm the opposite. Like, I just want to work and have fun and play and all those things, but I don't get to right now. And there's a comfort, I think, in this grieving and slowing down, that it feels safe because everything outside of that feels so risky right now. And so
I love that, like, you don't have to move back to spring yet.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's interesting listening because you're like, winter's actually not the worst.
No.
You know, like, to be comforted in a hurting place,
mm-hmm.
to be held, you know, like that cozy idea of, hey, we're just going to sit by the fire and we're going to let this thing heal.
Yeah.
Right? In God's arms, in his love. And so it's just kind of a neat picture of, like, already you're like, oh, but I don't want to think about spring.
Yeah.
And I feel like you don't have to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you're not there yet.
No.
And God is taking you through this season to prepare you for the next thing. And when it's time to move to the next season, like, he'll be there with you in it. And so, yeah, that fear is real. But I'm fascinated just by this idea of, like, just even that you said that, you know, like, I'd rather just be here in winter and be okay with that right now. And I'm like, wow, that's legit. Like, that's not who you are.
No.
Nope. You know, because that feels safer than trying and moving forward. And I think the mercy of God is like, hey, yeah, we're not there yet.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it's so important to know, like, seasons are not lifetimes.
No.
You know, it feels like we'll be stuck here forever. But I would argue, like, if you're in a season, like, that is expanded beyond there's no time stamp to it, but, like, if you're just stuck in the wilderness or stuck in a season of broken and depression, I'm like, I don't know that that's a season anymore.
No.
Right? Like, God needs to be in the season. Yeah. So yes, we have hard seasons, but there shouldn't be that stuckness.
No.
Right? So for you, like, I'm watching and I'm like, yeah, like, it's hard and you're feeling it but it's still alive and God's still in it.
Yeah.
Right. And I would say you're not in that place of being stuck. And we've had some interesting conversations just around bitterness and around disappointment and being like, hey, like, are you allowing this stuff to come through? Are you feeling your feels?
Yeah.
And that's a huge part of the season. So it's it's such a beautiful picture because as hard as it is, it's like, hey, God is giving you some things to move through this. Like for you, I would say your season right now is just to hold on to God and bring your emotion to him. Bring your grief to him, not shut down.
Yeah.
Not allow, that fear to take over.
That would have been the gut instinct, is for sure. Because I'm a master at repressing emotion. I'm really good at it. And so the easier thing, short term, would have been to just repress and move on. But the harder thing was to choose to sit in it. But I know that it will serve me so much more in the long run. And then now I found actually great comfort in it, which is good and hard in its own way, because you're like, is so not who I am. But
well, and interesting, we were talking one point, and you had just said something to me, just because you're learning what it is to sit with someone, in a hard place, and you're learning what's not helpful all the time. Because we're just trying to help, totally. People are coming alongside and they're trying to do the best they can. It's so awkward
it's so brutal
for everyone involved, but it was interesting for you. Now you're like, oh, I really can learn how to do this better.
Yeah. I've learned a lot. Yeah. And you're like, I don't know how else you would have learned this. I think probably people who are good at sitting with people are because people have sat with them. Well, that sucks.
Yes.
Right? So there's the reason you have winters is because there's things you can only learn in the winter, right?
Yes.
And so you're like, okay, I could waste this. I could just be sad and mad and then try to move on. Or I could sit in it and let it change me.
Yeah. And let's be real clear, that doesn't justify anything. You know what I mean? Yes, God will use every opportunity to help us to learn and grow. But the fact that this child is lost, it's awful. It's horrible. It's not God's heart. This is not God's intention and his plan. And unfortunately, we live in a broken world, and that's the really sad thing about it. So we're not trying to say, oh, yes, God will use everything for lessons to help us grow. And yes, there'll be things in winter that will make our lives better in the future. But that's not, he didn't cause this so that you would have to learn and grow. Yes.
Something I did. No, but it's could I take this horrible thing and turn it to something good is how it feels. Not I've been punished and I need to figure it out so it doesn't happen again. That's not what I'm saying. No. But yeah.
Yeah, it is in those hard spaces. There's something about honoring God and worshiping God and praising God in this space where you're broken and hurt and raw. And we talked about this too, just that, you can bring God an offering now that one day will be non-existent. There is coming a time when he returns where he says he'll wipe every tear, right? There'll be no more pain. There'll be no more of this loss and hurt and tears, because new heaven, new earth, we live in the glory of the Lord, and sin is no longer a part of the equation.
Yeah.
And tying back to our last podcast, it's there's an offering of worship. David talked about, hey, I don't want to bring the Lord something that didn't cost me something.
Yeah.
Right. And it's this crazy raw place of God, I don't even know, the loss and the hurt is so real. But even in that space, here's my little offering of gratitude because you're worthy. Yeah. And there's something in that space that is just, it's incredibly holy, meaning it's set apart.
Yeah.
You don't have access to that outside of anything other than this. And it can become a very tender place with the Lord.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Very raw, but unlike other things, for sure. Yeah. Seasons, man, they come.
Ready or not.
And they go.
Yeah, that's true too.
Do you find, I don't know if you've thought about this, but just we're kind of casting an idea of, and I've read somewhere just this idea that, God will give you in your last season what you need in the next one. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? We can look back and go, where are the tools, Lord? He's outside of time. So in his mercy, he tends to prepare us for things if we'll look and see. Do you feel like there's been any of that where you're like, hey, I've just recently learned this thing, or there's this tool or whatever that's been given to me that I actually can step into in this season?
Yes, very much so. I could feel a season shift before I got pregnant, but also I was like, we're going to try to have a baby. So probably. So you're like, that doesn't feel real. But then all of the conversations that I was having were around, there was a lot on compassion and empathy and my struggle in those things. And I obviously, like, I have those skills, but I think they look different than others because I'm not very gentle. And so you're like, okay, what does that look like? What is gentleness? There's this idea of rest, this idea, and then even of like working through my emotion, like that journaling and being like, I just sit at this upper level and it's like, I feel mad and then I feel great. And you're like, there's stuff under the mat. I'm like, I'm not sure that there is. I think I'm just mad. And so this idea of like, how do I actually dig into the heart of things and sit in that, and that's uncomfortable. And so there was like these smaller opportunities to practice these bigger feelings. And then even only 2 days before we got the news, I was listening to someone talk, and it was like a side comment that they made, but it was the only thing I could think about for the rest of the time, which I was like, okay, God, thanks, that's for me. And it was this idea that, I'm going to butcher it now because I can't quite remember, but something along the lines of acknowledging our pain so that we can actually move through it. And it was much more poetically worded, but the main premise of it is like, you can't move through pain that you won't acknowledge. And so I realized, and was journaling all my feelings about it, my feelings journal, that I will ask God for healings in things or situations and then totally undermine my experience in it. Like, my goals are to undermine my experience and to minimize my pain, so that it's not a big deal, so that it doesn't actually matter, so that it can't hurt me. Like, that's my routine pattern. But then knowing enough that something's not right to ask God for help in it. But what am I inviting him into? Like, I haven't acknowledged anything. For healing to happen, you have to acknowledge your pain. That's what it was. And so I was like, I'm asking for healing in a situation I'm not fully acknowledging. So where is there room for God to work in any way?
Yeah. It's like calling the doctor that makes house calls. Like, hey, I need you to come over, and they shows up, and it's like, okay, what's wrong? Like, I don't know.
I don't know. I'm pretty okay.
I just wanted you to come
Something's
here.
just a little weird. Yeah, right? And so I was like, oh, man. So I was fully processing, like, I'm not serving myself. I'm not any braver or any stronger or any better by spending time undermining or refusing to acknowledge what is right in front of me. And so that's what I was processing not 2 days before. And so you're like, okay, I will acknowledge this and I will not undermine it. So yeah, definitely there was so much preparation and growth. And you're like, oh, there was a harvest. I didn't really see it as that, but there was. And so now I get to, like, this feels like applying what I learned, really, right? Like, you're like, I have all this stuff, and it's like, rubber hit the road, girl. Like, time to do it. So, yeah.
Wow.
So I think that is a key element, right? If we find ourselves in a season all of a sudden, or slight crisis or full crisis, it's like, can you pause for a moment and ask the Lord, what did you give me? What have you given me? You know, because he says he'll take us through these seasons, right? He won't tempt us beyond what we're capable.
Yeah.
He's like, I'll get you through it.
Yeah.
But sometimes we have to take a moment and go, okay, God, what did you give me?
Yeah.
Like, is it a weapon of praise?
Yeah.
Are you calling me just to praise you? Are you like, what have you been teaching me about recently or in the last season or seasons that I can grab a hold of and bring into here? Because he's that merciful, like he's that loving, that he will prepare us for the hard things that we go through.
That's why it's important to journal, so you can look back.
It is true.
It's true, because you're like, what did he teach me? I can read it.
Yes.
No worries. Oh, that? Okay. Yes.
Yeah. Write down. Notebooks are good.
Notebooks are good.
Write down those highlight points. What have you taught me in the last couple
Yeah.
seasons? Because I probably need something.
100%.
Great advice.